Welcome back to another episode of In the Ring with Termite and Mr. S. We've got another great show today, don't we, Mr.
We've
S?
got Addie Guillory. He is the author of Blackjack Fight to Win. So it's the true $1 million strategy on how you can win blackjack. So he's done really well at this game.
Really well.
And he's decided to share some of his, I don't even call them tricks or secrets, just what you've learned, right?
Well, it's just a strategy.
It's just strategy.
Blackjack strategy. Yes, it's not any eye-opening process that probably somebody hasn't thought of in the past. I just happen to write about it.
You just recognize patterns. So how did you get started in playing blackjack? Was this something you sought out or just fell into it?
Well, no, it's so as a kid, I started playing blackjack in the back room of our house while my parents were playing poker in the living room with their friends. You know, they'd be in there drinking beer and smoking cigarettes, and all the kids would be in the back room. And my relatives, cousins from Louisiana, loved to play boo-ray, right? So we'd play boo-ray in the back, which is a Louisiana game. Well, I say that. That's because I learned it from the guys from Louisiana. But then we would play 21 too. But we didn't call it blackjack.
Is there a difference in 21 and blackjack?
Different name?
Not really. No, there's I don't know where the names difference started. Why some people call it 21, why some call it blackjack, but it's a game that's been around, for centuries. I mean, the Romans used to play blackjack. It was just they played it different, right? So there's been a transition from blackjack, even in the casinos, and I write about this in the book. So when the casino started up in Las Vegas, you know, the blackjack then, you had to have a true ace of spades and a jack of spades to have blackjack. But if you ever hit that hand, you won 5 times your bet.
Oh, wow.
Right? So it's changed. And what happened is that the game of blackjack in the casinos lost interest. You know, the gamblers that were coming in, it really didn't attract. I mean, yeah, because hitting a real blackjack was, like I said, hard to do. So they've changed the rules over the years, and they went from the true ace of spades, jack of spades, to any combination of 21, which would be any 10 and any 8.
Makes it more fun, more likely to hit.
Yeah, more people
They just quit doing the 5X
That's
5X
right,
payout.
yeah. Then it became 1.5 times your bid, your bet, right?
I got to ask you, I've always wanted to ask you this. How does it feel to win? I've been there when you come in from having a big weekend.
I've won $20 before.
Yeah.
So that felt pretty good. I really think you won a little bit more than that.
I've won over 100,000 a few different times. Yes,
100,000. How does that feel? I mean, do you just go crazy jumping up and down, or do you
Play
just
cool?
kind of?
Yeah. I guess I do. I just honestly, it takes a lot to excite me. It really does. It's like I like the actors in Hollywood. You know, they get put on some good shows and all that, but very few really excite me if I met them. Right. Now, I will tell you that C.J. Stroud that we were talking about earlier for the Texans quarterback, I would love to meet that guy. Now, that guy excites me, right? But, yeah, winning $100,000, I mean, I was happy, of course. You know, I mean, who wouldn't be happy?
You can stay seated. You were able to stay in your seat.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what's the most you ever lost at one time?
Oh, I've lost $40,000. Yeah. But, and I tell you that, and I tell everybody, you know, when they ask me, what, I've lost $40,000 sitting there playing at one time. But the time that I did lose $40,000, I had won like, I don't know, 8 or 10 weeks in a row of like $250,000. So losing 40, I was actually giving them back part of that 250. So yes, I lost, and that hurts. Now it hurts worse losing 40,000 than it feels better winning 100,000. I mean, losing $40,000 hurts.
Wow.
But again, it was. And honestly, foolish of me, I knew I wasn't going to win that night. I just kept playing. I was doing it for fun, and I was like, well, I in my heart, I knew that the way the cards were falling, that they probably weren't going to ever fall in my favor, but I wanted to find out. And again, but I'd been winning for weeks in a row. So,
and we talked earlier, and I remember you made a comment about that, about knowing when to hold them, when to fold them. And you said you kind of got this sense, and that's when you should stop. And most people get that same sense, and they just don't stop.
So, yeah, I mean, what you said is correct. I really don't like using the gut feelings or the sense, but it's more of paying attention to what the cards.
So it's
It
not
was
even
what I was
feelings. It's just
seeing.
facts. It's
Right,
like these
that's
cards are not.
exactly it. It was what I was seeing. The
Okay.
way it's like that night that I lost the $40,000. I could tell the way the cards were falling that they were never going to fall.
And
in
you
my,
told
my
yourself,
favor.
"Hey, quit playing."
I knew.
But
I
you
knew I needed to get up.
And that's hard to do. Get up and walk away when you're wanting to be there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a big gambler, but one time I tried it years ago, and I didn't walk away,
Right.
and I wish I would have.
Yeah.
And because I did lose 10,000
Oh,
one time.
ouch!
10,000. It was right after I fought for the world
That's
championship.
from your big money. That was like nothing.
Well, I'd only made 25,000.
That was that was
For the whole
Caesar's
half your
vows. I
winnings.
remember that. Yeah.
10,000 back 40 years ago was,
That was a lot of
Ooh,
money.
that was a whole
Yeah,
lot of money.
Yeah. It was probably more than the 40,000 I lost.
Yeah, I think
you
it was
know.
a more.
I was sick.
Yeah.
I was sick when I did. And
What,
it
what,
hurt.
brought, what brought you to that? I'm curious. Like, what made you go all the way to 10?
I kept
you felt
thinking
like you were on-
it's going to be now. It wasn't on blackjack. I was on something else, but I kept thinking
Jason.
they told me that if I would keep, I was going for one instead of one of the big numbers. They said, 3 out of 4 times it hits on one, but every great once in a while you'll get on. It'll miss one for 6, 7, 8 times. Mine did 10 times, and normally it hits.
You just
one.
kept going. I think that's
did.
something you can comment on.
Yeah, I can answer his question for him. I mean, your question for him is that he was chasing the money. You know, he'd lost,
that's
he
how
started
people
losing, and he was trying to win it back, and he figured if he kept putting more money in it, he'd win it back.
My time's coming.
And the problem with that is people don't recognize the pattern of the cards. They're just not paying attention. The majority of blackjack players go to the casino, and they really don't go to win money, right? They go to have fun.
Yeah.
The problem gets to where when they're having fun, they donate so much money into the casino. Then they get into a point where they start chasing that money, trying to get it back, trying to get to break even. And unless you're paying attention to the cards,
The emotions
it's not
got
going to
them.
happen.
The
Right?
emotion got them at that point.
Yeah. And see, that's why this is how the casinos profit on games, table games, the slot machines, is that they get people in there to have fun. And it's a great place to have fun. I mean, if you're just going to go in there, spend $500, for a weekend, I mean, you can have a blast playing the games, knowing to get up for the table and just enjoying yourself. A real gambler like myself, I'm going there to win money. And
It's like a job.
It's
You're
a
very
job.
strategic.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm watching the cards. If the table's full, which honestly I'd rather play by myself because I can control the cards, and I'll explain that in a minute. But if I have a full table, it's hard to win.
Now you're having to watch
The more- the
everybody.
more-
But
people.
and that's the deal. I do. I watch every hand, every card that the players on the table gets. I'm watching. I'm thinking in my head, okay, they got a 7-4. They should double down. They had a 6-3. The dealer's showing a 6. Double down on that 9 because that's the only cards I see. Right. So
And now
or
some
see
of this
the
is
9
in
up.
your book, but do you talk about like what's a full table, what's the ideal amount of people at a table to kind of increase your chances?
Yeah. Again, for me, I'd rather play by myself. If it's just 2 of us at the table and the other player's a good player, he's playing basic strategy, he's doing the right calls on the cards, that's good. Then I'll start talking to a player like that and say, look, the cards are going bad for me over here. They're going bad for you. I think I can change them. It's going to be a crazy play. Do you mind if I try it? Right?
So you can have that sort of conversation at these tables.
Yes. Because now I would never just do it to another player, just make a crazy play. And again, that's why I like playing by myself, because if the dealer's beating me consistently, if I'm hitting on 16, which I do, I prefer to hit on 16 in anything. But if I keep hitting 16, I keep busting. And then the dealer keeps turning over a bust card that tells me that if I wouldn't have hit that 16, she'd have got my card, she would have bust, and I would have won. And that's happened consistently, then it's time for me to quit hitting 16s, right? So, and that goes to another thing. And again, I write in the book that, you always hear at the table, you hear a lot of myths, right?
Yeah.
And one of those myths are, however you play, you need to do it every time.
Be consistent.
No, that's not true.
Got to change with the flow.
You got to go with the flow. That's
hey,
right.
if they wanted to get this book from you, how could people get that from you?
All you have to do is, for any bookstore in the world, all you have to do is put my name in, Addie Guillory, or put in the name of the book, Blackjack Fight to Win.
You know, I like that fight to win. I like that.
Yeah.
I did a little fighting one time.
Oh, I know you did.
So, Blackjack Fight to Win.
Yes, yes.
That's it. All right. So,
let me tell you a little story. So that name, Deborah, my wife, she gave the book the name. So I was teaching her how to play blackjack, and I kept telling her about the hitting on 16 because she hated hit on 16, and a lot of people do. And I told her, I said, well, the babies are drowning. What you going to do? Are you going to fight for them, or are you just going to give up? And giving up is not taking a hit, right? Fighting is when you take the hit. You know you're taking a chance. Yeah,
you're taking a chance.
You know you're taking a chance, but you're fighting for it. And then we were leaving the Golden Nugget one weekend, and she made a comment, I know what you're talking about. You have to fight to win. I said, that's the name of my book.
yeah, I like it.
Perfect.
I like it. That's pretty awesome.
So in your book, I assume, what would someone expect? So someone wants to get better at blackjack. Why would they want to read your book? Just to learn how to get better, learn strategies? Is that what you really lie out on there, kind of a practical?
Yeah. So the book is good for someone wanting to learn for their first time, you know, that doesn't know how to play blackjack, never been to a casino, but they want to learn. That's what the book's good for, that, because I teach basic strategy. I teach the things that a beginner needs to know. But then I also go into an advanced blackjack play, kind of like I was telling you, that if I'm playing at the table by myself and I recognize the pattern of the cards, they keep falling where I keep hitting 16, I keep busting, right? Well, that gets to advanced. So when you start recognizing that, you know, a beginner is probably not going to recognize that, and I wouldn't even suggest that a beginner even try to recognize that. Just learn the basics, learn the basic strategy, and basic strategy is going to help you a lot in your game.
So is a lot of it really and truly just luck of the draw?
No,
I've heard that old saying, luck of the draw. Or, I mean,
well, so when I autograph my book for a friend or something, I always put always luck, right? Because it does involve luck, but luck and skill and trying to increase your odds is what you're going for when you're going to gamble. Yeah, that's the skill part. And that's what
it boils down to, is increasing your odds.
Yes.
Pretty interesting.
And how long have you been playing blackjack? I know you mentioned it before, but.
And I'm 66 now, and I started playing when I was probably 7 or 8 years.
A long time.
And 58 years or so.
When did you get to the point where you said, I should write a book about this? Someone suggested to you, or how'd that come about?
No, I'll tell you, the reason, this is the sole reason why I decided to write a book, because I've played at the tables and in like the lower limit tables, like a $25 or $50 table, just having fun. I wasn't even going to win any money. And I got to noticing that a lot of people sat down at the table that didn't have a clue of what they were doing. They just wanted to enjoy the experience of playing blackjack, right? So really, I wrote the book for those people.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay, so it's made for the average person. It's not some.
Yeah, that was the whole intent of the book. Yeah, and
now,
as I started writing, then I put in the advanced part.
Yeah. Now, of course, I know you. You're one of my very good friends. There's also the other side of you. There's this side of you that loves blackjack, but there's a businessman. Tell me what you do for business. Tell everybody what you do for
Yes, I'm the president of TF Industrial. It's part of the TF companies. And we do. It's an industrial general contractor. Yep.
So we don't have just a blackjack hustler over here. We have a studious president of a large organization here in Houston. And I know you've gone to quite a bit of schooling. We talked a little bit before this as well.
Oh, God, yes.
Tell them all you've done as first.
Really, I should be a brain surgeon right now for all the school that I went through. So I ended up, my degree is actually in project management and entrepreneurship, and I graduated summa cum laude. But that was after
I can't even
years.
say that.
But that was years of studying and going to school. I started in the Boilermakers Union, and in the Boilermakers Union, you have to go do a 4-year college correspondence course, as you progress through your apprenticeship. And I think it was every 6 months, we got a raise based on the classes that we completed. And it was 4 years. It was a 4-year course. So that was my first experience out of high school. And I want to say, so I told you that I graduated summa cum laude. Well, in high school, I was at the bottom of my class.
Probably about it.
I did not study. I did not care about it, and I regret it, But when I was in high school, I did not study for any tests. My books, one year I even forgot where my locker was. That's how bad I was.
You weren't paying attention.
I didn't care. I didn't care, and I didn't care until I got out of school. So I got out of school and I started learning, like I said, the 4-year apprenticeship course through the Boilermakers Union. Then I went to Lamar University for welding, and it was a 4-year college course for welding. I didn't complete it, but I went through the metallurgy and different things that they were teaching in the welding class. Then I went to San Jacinto College for pipe fitting, and completed all that. And then I also started school for engineering. So I went to school. Matter of fact, I finished all my calculus for engineering, and I just didn't want that. Not that it wasn't a good profession. I mean, I know a lot of engineers. I envy some of the engineers I know because I know some really smart ones, but it just wasn't for me. And I decided I wanted project management because I was already a project manager in construction. And I knew that with that and entrepreneurship, that it would help my career, and it did. So with the entrepreneurship, I ended up starting my own business, ran my own business for quite a long time, and ended up closing. And there's some reasons for that, but it was nothing to do with the business. Yeah, well, in personal life,
Sure.
too. Yeah. So I ended up closing that. And then when we met as the regional Gulf Coast vice president, for a company.
Well, I can speak from experience. He's incredible to work for. Great businessman, knows his job. And again, if they wanted to get in touch with you for your business, how would they do that again?
Yeah, so it's probably best to go into LinkedIn. Of course, I'm on LinkedIn or in LinkedIn. TF Companies, you can find TF Companies in LinkedIn, and you can also find TF Industrial on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have a good organization, and Whitney.
Yep.
Whitney owns the company, and Keith Hurst. And so it's a good company. I told Whitney the other day he's one of the better people that I've worked with in my life too. Yeah,
saying a lot.
Yeah.
Especially having your own company, that can be hard to do. Running your own show to now you're working for somebody, that's a tough situation for some folks.
Yeah, well, it's again, I don't get excited about a lot of things, and so closing the business was just one part of my life, and going back to work, and which I closed the business, and then started as the regional vice president, Gulf Coast area. I won't mention the name of the company, but yeah, and then from there to TF Industrial.
Well, talk a little bit more. I'm fascinated by how you're saying when you were younger, you hated school, you were bottom of your class, you're just not interested, to all of a sudden taking all kind of classes, more schooling than I think most people I know, and now you're the president. How did that switch happen?
Well, Mr. S, I'll tell you that when I was in high school at graduation in the yearbook, I'm sure, and I don't know, I hadn't read my yearbook in many, many years, but I'm sure it said most likely to succeed.
That's great.
Yeah. So the Boilermakers Union, I wanted to work construction. So that's where it started. And the Boilermakers Union forced me to do the 4-year college correspondence course. And you had to pass the classes. And they're not just regular, they're not, get by classes, right? Or electives or something that anybody could pass. You had to put thought into it. You had to put effort into it. I actually had to read the books this time. And so that started me.
Because you wanted it. That's basically what you wanted it.
I wanted it, yeah.
And in, I guess, lower school, you just had to go there. You're forced to it. You wanted this.
I was a kid in high school and junior high school.
Okay.
All I could think about was partying and, having a good time, and that was the only thing on my mind. And I had a great time in high school. I just didn't learn anything.
I think that's still encouraging for younger folks that hate school, or they're in school, they feel forced. Once you find something you really want, you're it's just like a switch just gets flipped, and you just go after it without even thinking about how hard it is. You're just going to go for it.
Well, I think the answer is that when I started working, I didn't like anybody telling me what to do, and it was one thing that kept me going to the military, because I really thought long and hard about going to the military. I wanted that experience, but I didn't think I'd be able to make it, because I really didn't think I'd be able to listen to somebody trying to tell me what to do all day long. So I started my education, because I wanted to know before somebody told me to do something. I wanted to know that that's what I needed to do. And that's what I started doing. I started learning, and I did like I said, the Boilermakers 4-year correspondence. It was a college correspondence course. Did that, did the welding, did the pipe fitting. So I learned the trade in construction. And then eventually, like I said, did the engineering courses through college, and then eventually turned to project management and entrepreneurship, so just so you'll know that all the time I did for engineering wasn't a complete waste, but there was hours that did not roll over to
And now
project management.
as the president, you obviously probably have engineers in your organization that you relate to, I guess, into more of an
We work
extent.
really close with engineers. In our organization, we don't have a lot of engineers working in the company. We usually work for an engineering company.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got welders. So here you are, the president of the company, and you could probably get out there and weld if you had to.
I can. Yeah, I can.
So Addie, we've got a few minutes left. Our theme is about overcoming. Have you ever been knocked down at 21 and where you didn't know, you couldn't see the day of light, and you were wondering how you're going to get up from this? And did you make any kind of a comeback? And business wise, have you ever been knocked down and come back?
Well, let me tell you a story. Yes, the answer is yes, multiple times. But and I was talking to a good friend of ours the other day, and Mr. S, you know him too, and I think you might recognize who I'm talking about. We were talking about him and I were talking about that he had a spiritual experience, right? Like the light of God come down and shine down on him. Well, I actually went through that. The story, mine and his story, is a little different. And I told him about mine. Well, when I was in college, I was also working, and I was working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and still going to college. And
Wow.
it was tough. And luckily, I was working for a company that if I needed to get off early for classes, they were good with that. So, so one day I was driving home, and my car caught on fire. I'm telling you, there was flames rolling out of the hood, right?
Jeez.
Real flames. I'm like, okay, that's ruined. So I get home, and I drop on my knees and I pray to God, I need help. I got college I got to go to. I got to get to work in the morning. I need help. So I did, and I called a friend of mine to come help me, and he came the next morning, brought all his tools, mechanic, brought all his tools and his little roller, because I'm not a mechanic. At all the schooling I went through, it was never
That
to
wasn't one of
work on car or house. So anyway, he brings all this stuff, and he goes, okay, let's go. So we go to my car, and let me just add that the car was on fire so bad. When I pulled into a little convenience store, and the guy working in the store came running out with a fire extinguisher. So he sprays the car, to put the fire out. So anyway, my buddy comes over. We go to the car the next morning. He gets on his little roller, gets some tools, and slides underneath my car, and he starts looking. He's down there for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. Seems like a lifetime to me, but it probably wasn't that long. And he rolls out, and he says, man, what are we doing here? I said, dude, you're going to fix my car. It's burned up. All the wiring that's melted and all that. He said, there's no fire underneath there. I'm like, come on, man. It's like, I'm telling you,
Wow.
flames were rolling out of that hood. And the guy walked out. You see all this stuff where they put it out with a fire extinguisher. He said, Addie, There's not anything burned underneath your car.
Wow.
Oh wow.
So
That's your miracle that kind of woke you up. get
oh,
you
that's a
back on
good
track.
miracle for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's because you kept going. So that's a good
Yeah.
one to end it on. I know we are out of time.
Yep,
But
yep.
I appreciate you coming on and sharing these stories with us.
Well, thanks
Yeah.
for having me.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
It is
and,
fun.
and what a way to end. Never give up.
Never
You
give
know,
up. Never give up.
There is a God, and He's a good
Absolutely.
God,
He's
and
a great God.
so
And once you find the right thing you're interested in, it'll drive you.
Oh,
That's
so,
right.
So if someone's not motivated, just keep on looking for
Keep
something.
going.
right.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, we
Well,
appreciate. We like to end every show with our
keeping your guard
tagline
up.
of
You
"Life
know
is
what it
tough. We
is.
keep our guard up."
So as we close, see y'all next time. But keep your guard up.